Houthi rebels, Iran's playfully disruptive sidekicks, decided to spice up the Red Sea, causing chaos in shipping and airlines, as Israel and Hezbollah engaged in a fiery exchange of rockets, sponsored, of course, by Iran's geopolitical theater. The real star remains Iran's mysterious nuclear ambitions, while the international community, ever the concerned onlooker, wonders, hey, is everything kosher behind those veils? I'm Shoshani, and this is what happened this week in our neighborhood. The United States Central Command reported early Tuesday that 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles were fired from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen towards a merchant vessel in the Red Sea. The vessel, identified as the Pinocchio, great name, was not hit and there were no reports of injuries or damage. The Houthis, also known as Ansar Allah, are a Shia Muslim political and military group based in northern Yemen. The latest attack comes amidst ongoing efforts to find a political solution to the conflict in Yemen. The United Nations has been leading efforts to bring the warring parties to the negotiation table, but progress has been slow. On Tuesday morning, Israel retaliated with strikes after 2 waves of rocket attacks, comprising at least 100 projectiles in total, targeting northern Israel, according to the IDF. The first wave consisted of 30 rockets, while the second wave involved 70. Crashes were reportedly witnessed in open areas near En Kunya, Snir, Shar Yishuv, and Kfar Sold. The Hezbollah has claimed responsibility for launching these Katyusha rockets, stating that it was a response to Israel's bombardment of the Baqa region on Monday night, as reported by Reuters. In other news, Iran, Russia, and China are set to begin a joint naval drill in the northern part of the Indian Ocean on Tuesday, according to state media. The exercise, named Marine Security Belt 2024, will cover 17,000 square kilometers of water and aims to foster security and multilateral cooperation, as well as showcase the Allies' naval capabilities. The drill, which is 4th since 2019, also aims to improve trade, confront piracy and terrorism, and support humanitarian activities. Of course, that is what we're to expect from Iran and Putin's strong anti-terrorism and humanitarian action. I'm being facetious, of course. Iran has increased its military cooperation with Beijing and Moscow in response to regional tensions with the US, including supplying military drones to Russia, Oman, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, and South Africa, which will be observers in the drill. So what is forming in front of our eyes? We know that both the Houthis and Hezbollah are backed by Iran, and this is where we must discuss the bigger picture. We also know that China and Russia are growing closer and closer to Iran. Could it be, at least partially, because China and Russia see that American sanctions on Iran's nuclear ambitions are simply ineffective? For years, Iran's nuclear program has been a source of grave concern and handwriting for the naive international community. But what exactly are the mullahs up to behind the veil of plausible deniability? While claiming their nuclear activities are solely for civilian energy purposes, their blatant violations of the toothless 2015 nuclear deal, officially called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA, tell a different story of nuclear proliferation ambitions. Did the harsh economic sanctions imposed snap them back into compliance? No, they simply doubled down. The US feckless handling of this crisis, through half-measured and distracted incompetence, has allowed the radical Iranian regime to make startling advances in the uranium enrichment and other nuclear activities right under the nose of the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, inspectors. Recent reports show Iran is sprinting towards nuclear breakout capability at an alarming pace. But isn't the IAEA supposed to be the eyes and ears preventing such a scenario exactly? Well, unfortunately, at last week's quarterly meeting of the Board of Governors of the IAEA, the Director General Rafael Grossi also admitted that the agency has lost continuity of knowledge about the production and stock of centrifuges, rotors, heavy water and uranium ore concentrate within Iran's uranium-enriched facilities. At the same meeting, the United States and its European allies sternly cautioned about the potential risks arising from Iran's lack of cooperation on the matter. The pattern seems to be that everyone condemns and no one acts. So what about Israel? Well, Israel rightly views a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat to its very survival. Israel has stated in the past that a nuclear Iran is a scenario that the Jewish state simply cannot accept. After all, how can the Jewish state ignore the inflammatory rhetoric of wiping Israel off the map? That's a quote from Iran's unhinged leaders. Unlike the West, Israel takes these genocidal taunts seriously and has been forced to explore alternative options beyond the fruitless diplomacy. So what are Israel's options? One option is a daring, preemptive military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities to set back their program, despite the high risks of regional war and retaliation from Iranian proxies. Another shadowy path seems to involve covert sabotage through cyber attacks and eliminating key Iranian nuclear scientists, if the persistent rumors in Western reports are indeed true. Israel is also desperately seeking to rally a new allied Middle East coalition firmly opposed to Iran's hegemonic ambitions in the Tinderbox region. The Abraham Accords were in part just that, a regional coalition of allies standing strongly against Iranian aggression. But this didn't stop the Iranian mullahs from plowing ahead with their nuclear objectives, feigning innocence about peaceful energy while violating every international norm and showing brazen contempt for the toothless IAEA. They see their nuclear program as the key to reinventing Persian supremacy and power projections in the Middle East, and ultimately the final elimination of the Zionist entity, the State of Israel. So are we headed to a nuclear face-off? The notion that the Iranian regime will negotiate in good faith for a new nuclear deal is laughable given their track record. Their nuclear project represents a slow-motion potential holocaust in the making that cannot be allowed to reach fruition through more pointless appeasement and hollow words from the West. Through a toxic combination of delusional inaction, empty rhetoric, and impotent agreements violated at will by Tehran, the free world has ushered in a potential nuclear nightmare in the world's most volatile region. As the Iranian nuclear threat metastasizes, Israel may soon have no choice but to go in alone to defend itself against Iran's menacing peaceful ambitions by any means necessary. The question, of course, is, does the West have the courage and resolve to step up before it's too late? God help us all if aggressive measures are not finally taken to skewer Iran's nuclear insanity. So much for this week. I'm Mati Shoshani. Please continue to follow us to find out what God is doing in our neighborhood. And I hope you live in a calmer neighborhood than ours.